Well, now we know why that interview was not videotaped. If Donald Trump had seen the video transcript, he would have fired Howard Lutnick. It was really embarrassing.
We asked him over and over again, why did you go to the island? He says he doesn't remember, that it was inexplicable, and he simply didn't know how to answer the question at that point.
I think I disagree with Congressman Ro Khanna, considering how evasive Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick was today as he was testifying before the House Oversight Committee. I think Trump might try to give him a higher position within the administration. Because if there's one thing Trump loves, it's being evasive when it comes to the Epstein files. Now today, US Commerce Secretary Lutnick did appear before the House Oversight and Reform Committee to, discuss his connection to Epstein. They were neighbors. He claims they weren't buddies, but do we really trust him? Do we? I don't. And the reason why we don't is because he was caught in a major lie after the Department of Justice released one of the, tranches of Epstein documents, and we got a sense of the relationship Lutnick actually had with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, let's rewind for a little bit of context, shall we? So Lutnick agreed back in March to sit for a transcribed interview, there were no cameras allowed, with the committee after the Justice Department's release of millions of documents related to Epstein, which included documents showing that Lutnick continued correspondence with Epstein after the disgraced financier had been convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor. Now, I don't know about you guys, but you learn that someone was convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor, you're gonna wanna keep your distance, right? Turns out Howard Lutnick didn't. However, he did lie about it. So Lutnick and Epstein were neighbors for many years. This is in New York. And then years later, Lutnick stated that in 2005, Epstein had invited him and his wife to visit his house. So Lutnick and his wife go, and here's what Lutnick claims happened next.
He invites us in, we have coffee in this, and he says, do you want a tour? We said, great.
Interesting.
He's got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got, well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide. And so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room. And then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left.
Did you leave? Maybe he left that night, but the claim that from that moment forward, he never spoke to or saw Epstein again, that was a lie. Because it turns out that the Epstein files showed that they did communicate after that. And in fact, as you heard Ro Khanna say, he visited the island, the Epstein Island. So let's get to the details here. So in late 2009, Lutnick asked Epstein's assistant for Epstein's phone number. This is what we learned back in February because the Epstein files, well, at least some of the Epstein files were released and we got that information. So 2005, Lutnick and his wife get invited to Epstein's house. Lutnick claims didn't talk to him after that. Then we find out through the Epstein files that in late 2009, he hits up Epstein's assistant and asks for Epstein's phone number. Now it's unknown whether or not the two talked immediately after he got the number, but it doesn't matter because in the spring of 2011, Epstein scheduled an appointment to have drinks with Lutnick. The record suggests the meetings were at Epstein's home and that Lutnick left something behind there. In December of 2012, Lutnick told Epstein that he and his family would be in the Caribbean Lutnick asked if they could visit Epstein during their stay. So apologies, maybe it wasn't the Epstein Island, it was visiting Epstein in the Caribbean, which I don't think is so great. And so the two men at that point met for lunch. They scheduled a date to meet for lunch. So a day later, an assistant to Epstein forwarded Lutnick a message from Epstein, quote, "Nice seeing you," it said. Thus, confirming that the two did in fact meet. In fall of 2015, Lutnick, who was raising money that year for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, invited Epstein to attend a very intimate fundraising event for her at Cantor Fitzgerald's offices. In 2017, Epstein donated to a charity event in Howard Lutnick's honor. Wow, these ties seem a lot more extensive than previously known, or than he was previously willing to admit. Finally, in 2018, Epstein and Lutnick corresponded through Epstein's assistant about how to thwart a construction project in their neighborhood. Lutnick wrote to Epstein, "Are you aware as to them building to block our park views? What should we do about it?" And to be clear, the emails don't show any evidence of wrongdoing. There's no evidence from what we've seen, Because remember, about 50% of the Epstein files have not been released by the DOJ. So based on what we've seen, there's nothing to show that Lutnick has incriminated himself or engaged in any illegal activity. By the way, visiting Epstein in the Caribbean, it was probably Epstein's Island. Let's just keep it real, okay? That's how it's reported by everyone else. So I want to be clear about that. But nonetheless, you're visiting Epstein's Island. You're messaging back and forth. You're dealing with fundraisers where you're sending invites to Epstein. Epstein is making contributions to whatever you're raising funds for. Okay, so. And in a statement released prior to the hearing taking place today, a Commerce Department spokesperson said the following: "The secretary looks forward to addressing any questions on the record when he testifies voluntarily before the Oversight Committee. He looks forward to putting to rest the inaccurate and baseless claims in the media designed to distract from his supposed historic work that's underway at the Commerce Department. Please spare me. Please spare me." Okay.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
But did he tell the truth during the hearing today? According to what we're hearing from the Democrats, not at all. In fact, let's hear more from Congressman Ro Khanna.
It was really embarrassing. He was asked very straightforward questions about whether he regretted misleading the American people. I mean, he said that he would never see Epstein again in 2005. And everyone knows that he took his wife and kids to see Epstein in 2012. And yet it was just contortions and lies and no acknowledgement that he misled the American public. And if you saw the exchanges that my colleagues had with him, you would see he made a farce of the English language. I mean, he was trying to define I as if saying that what he really meant is that he would not see Epstein alone, but be totally fine with having his wife and kids see Epstein. It made no sense.
I mean, are we really surprised that he was evasive, that he wouldn't answer questions? He wouldn't even answer questions about whether or not he consulted with President Trump on what to say, because his story's changing based on what he allegedly testified to the House Oversight Committee today. But it doesn't just end with alleged lies that he's telling, because according to Roe, Lutnick is now also being incredibly wishy-washy in regard to claims of Epstein engaging in a blackmail operation. In fact, previously Lutnick had said that there was videos or video evidence that lends credence to the argument that Epstein was running a blackmail operation. But now suddenly, he's telling the House Oversight Committee something entirely different. I wonder why. Let's take a look.
He originally had said that Epstein engaged in blackmail and recorded videotapes. Now he's saying, well, he was wrong. He was just speculating, and Epstein actually didn't engage in blackmailing. This raises the question of what the cover-up is. Did someone tell him to say that? I've not heard that that Epstein never engaged in blackmail. Why is Howard Lutnick changing his testimony, changing his story? He's lost all credibility, and really it's a shame that the American people don't get to see what he did there.
When it comes to the loss of credibility, I hope the federal government understands that it extends far beyond Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. And this isn't merely a Trump administration thing, although the Trump administration has made it very clear that the Epstein files are being covered up, that there are incredibly powerful elite individuals within our country, people who get to make decisions about all of our lives implicated in those files, or at least engaged in the cover-up of those files. And so what has happened as a result of this whole Epstein saga is that the Americans paying attention, it's a lot of Americans on both sides of the political aisle, don't trust our institutions. I'm disgusted by our government. I'm absolutely disgusted by them. The fact that I see them take money out of my paycheck every time I get paid disgusts me. Not because I have a problem with paying taxes and funding public programs and things like that. No, of course I don't have a problem with that. The problem that I have is that I don't trust these demonic, evil individuals who couldn't even care less about Epstein's survivors, couldn't care less about justice, couldn't care less about protecting Americans, including American children. All of these people in government right now who are engaged in this cover-up need to face consequences for it. Howard Lutnick lied to the American people, much like others in the Trump administration. And this cover up, I mean, what we've learned already is bad enough. Imagine what they're covering up. The official transcript from Lutnick's testimony today should be released in the next few days. And according to the House Oversight Committee chair, that's Republican Congressman James Comer, Pam Bondi is also set to testify in the coming weeks. I'm sure that'll be enlightening. But will Lutnick be the next official to get the boot from the Trump administration? I doubt it. As long as he was being evasive, Trump will be happy with him. That's all it'll take. It's pretty gross.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.